Hey guys, good afternoon. Checking in. It's a lovely but toasty Sunday here in Dallas Fort Worth. One of the channels that I follow is this one, Modern MBA. Um, I think the author does a good job of distilling, I think simplifying what could be, I think, admittedly some complex financial topics. This one posted this morning, and I enjoyed this. This 20 some odd, almost a half hour long. I would encourage you to watch it. I think we've all heard of Western Union. They're everywhere. For Latinos and for those of us that do remit money back home, Western Union is, I don't know, you could argue it's a lifeline for sending money home for an emergency, or maybe you're trying to help family. For whatever reason, that's a personal thing. This author, the Modern MBA, I think did a pretty good dive into Western Union's history, I think how it's grown, but also I think about some of the headwinds it's facing. And I think some of the, and I agree with what the author is saying. I think some of the headwinds are self-inflicted. Um, 500,000 locations worldwide. But yeah, I'm not. In any case, that places like the U.S., Canada, developed countries, Germany, Italy, we remit. People here remit money back home, and again, back home it could be South America, Central America. It could be somewhere out in the Pacific. It could be out in Central Asia, Southeast Asia. It could be wherever. And I think part of the reason we see Western Union grown, and now you've got the PayPal's and Zells, just because getting a bank account for certain communities could be difficult, especially if they don't have, the proper ID. Western Union says, give me your basic ID. Here's a 10-digit transaction number. Give this to your cousin, to your mom, your dad, in whatever other country, and they can get the money here in a couple of minutes. Now, what you've seen, or what we've seen the last few years, is Western Union. They've been challenged, and again, this video talks about it in a lot more detail. But they've been challenged in part because they've grown so much, but also the competition, and in particular, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, all these guys that you no longer you don't even have to go to a store anymore. In terms of exchange rates and in terms of fees, they undercut Western Union. And I think the argument, I think some are making, and I don't know if this is going to fly, but would Western Union need to become a bank to compete in the 21st century? I don't think that's a smart idea, because who Western Union kind of aims at nowadays is talk about, as you can see in the title, banking and finance of the poor. I mean, I don't know if I would go that far, but they are the people that go to Western Union probably are not going to have accounts at Goldman Sachs. I'm just saying. They're probably not going to have a 3 or 4 or 5 IRAs on the side. I'm just saying. And they've been around for a long time. They're going to have to evolve. But I think what's interesting is this article, and I got to thinking about this a little while ago. So let's talk about remittances. And obviously, Latinos were pretty big into remittances, but we're not the only guys on the block on this. So there was an article. This is from 2010, so it's a little older. You can look it up off Pew Research. It's called Billions in Motion. Now, the article is from 2010, but the article does make a few, and by the way, this is a free article. You can get it off Pew. You can get it off, I think, most are journals that are out there, online journal repositories. But what you're seeing is, and Mexico and Central America, the projections that remittances from the U.S. all help stabilize a lot of countries. A lot of countries, without these remittances, without Western Union, a lot of these third world, a lot of these developing nations would be in even worse hole than they probably are right now. And so again, now this is from a few years ago, but I don't think this has changed a whole lot on this. And you see that obviously the majority of the money we send, if and when we send it elsewhere, it says cash. For a lot of reasons, credit debit's not going to work. First priority isn't necessarily sending money home, but it's usually the second for most folks. And you're going to see this, and you're seeing that the remittances typically are not that big, but that they're pretty steady. And again, so this article kind of looks at a few different factors. I would encourage you to read it. It's 28 pages, but it's not really 28 pages. There's a couple of pages of introduction. There's a reference. I think there's an acknowledgement. It's more like 20 something. I would encourage you to read it though. This is fascinating. Now, again, these stats are 10 years old. I don't know if they've changed a lot. This is interesting. Nearly half of Latinos born outside the U.S. regularly send money to their country of origin. 45% of immigrants from Mexico send remittance compared to 57% from El Salvador and 59% from Dominican Republic. The majority are male. The majority are under 40. Most are married. Most have not completed high school, unfortunately. Most make less than 30 grand a year. Most rent their home. Half have arrived here in the last decade or so. Most of them, a good chunk of them, have been here over a decade. And again, you can look at all this. This is a topic I spoke to earlier. 64% of those who are employed are unskilled laborers, potentially construction, and I've talked about that before. Um, and nearly half say they plan to go back home at some point. Most don't have credit cards. Reason for the remittance: many do not have bank accounts here. And I mean, there's an argument to be made that you're sending money back home to build your savings back home. The majority watch TV, radio, predominantly in Spanish, with Telemundo, Univision, Galavisión, whatever other channels that are out there. Half they understand English just a little or not at all. And this is what's interesting on this. So the projections on this meant Mexico and Central America. And again, remember this cut off here. So the projection. So you're going to see that that the projection is that this is we're going to be sending more. And obviously, this was done well before the pandemic, well before all these things are going on now. And what you're seeing, yeah, we send a lot. So, I mean, I'll let you guys read that. So this is interesting. I found this a little while ago. This is from the Woodrow Wilson Center. If you're president, you get to have a center named after you. And Woodrow Wilson, president in World War I. So this is an infographic. And again, now this is from last spring. And we're going to focus on Mexico. And then I'm going to jump from here somewhere else. But you're going to see in Mexico that Mexico, a lot of their money, a lot of their budgets, and again, I'm just no particular reason, but this is one. A lot of their money comes from the U.S. A lot of the GDP, it's remitted. I mean, it's set, and most of it's from the U.S. Of course. Interestingly, California third comes from California. Texas, just a little less. Now, it's interesting that Florida has a pretty huge Latino population, but only 3%. But what I wonder here is if Florida probably is going to have more Central and South American and Caribbean Latino influences, so that can probably explain that. The average remittance in 2021, so in the middle of the pandemic, was $340. Obviously, where the money is going on this in 2021, so they're saying 4%. So basically, what one in on a dollar, a nickel basically goes back to on every Mexican dollar, basically a nickel comes from the U.S. or almost a nickel on this. This is. And again, this is again the theme here. Again, that Latinos in here, Mexicans at least, employed in construction. And then a third of the remittances are sent by women. And so again, I will let you read this. The Wilson Center. The article is titled "Remittances in Mexico Reach a Historic High." Again, this is free on this. So this is kind of another angle look at it. This is coming from the World Bank, and this is showing remittances in the at least now the years. We got to work on the years, but you're seeing, I guess, as a percent of the GDP. So if you're in Tajikistan, so if you're in Central Asia, down there south of Russia, half of your GDP comes from remittances. Tonga, way out in the South Pacific, almost half. Samoa, Kyrgyz Republic, Lebanon. Okay, let's make this a little more Hispanic influence here. Honduras, more than more than 1 in 4 of the dollars comes from remittances. El Salvador, almost 1 in 4. We're gonna go down. Haiti is a neighbor, 22, and then Nicaragua, basically 1 in 5, and then it kind of goes down from there. And so Mexico, I thought was 4-ish%. And let me do this another way. Hold on. Colombia is 2.7. So Mexico's about 4.3. Yeah. Again, give or take a buck or two. Now, what you see here, obviously, the more developed you are, the more advanced you are, the more stable you are as a nation, the less you need for the more developed you are as a nation, the less you probably need this as we work our way down. Belgium still 2.3. So I mean, on every dollar, 2 cents out of Belgium's dollars comes from remittances. Thailand 1.9, Andorra, Peru, let's see, Estonia, Benin, France. Okay, now we're getting down here. So France, Poland, Costa Rica, again, people say what they will, but again, here, Panama, um, Italy, Germany, of course. I believe this would be South Korea, Qatar, Switzerland, Greece, Iraq. Interesting. I know they've had a lot of economic troubles, but still. South Africa, Uruguay, Japan, almost zero. United Kingdom, almost zero. And okay, so the U.S. technically nothing, but you see these other countries. Yeah, so we have Saudi Arabia, Gabon, Angola, Chile, Kuwait. Now the thing is that I guess some of this, I don't know. I mean, I wonder where the sources come from. But for example, Libya, supposedly, I guess no one sends remittances to Libya. Chad, no one sends money. Singapore is pretty well developed. Now, I'm not from the Central African Republic. I wouldn't know. But so the reason I'm bringing this up is that, remittances, we send money. Again, Latinos are not the only one, but we send money back to our home places. And you can see, obviously, some of these more developed places here where we live here, Australia, for example, there, Ireland, they're pretty developed. We're here. And, we save some money, we buy a car, we buy a house, but then we tend to send them quite a bit of money back. And depending where we come from, depending where we live, basically our folks back home, our family, we send money because they've got it pretty tough. And especially maybe places like Central America, that what we send, every penny is a godsend to them. So what I'll do on the article, I will on the YouTube thing, I'll put a link to the video. Again, it's 20 some odd minutes, about 26 and change. I would definitely encourage take a peek at it, and it's a good channel. There's a lot of stuff I watch on it. There's others like it on this. Again, I think very, very illuminating. Thanks. Take care. You guys have a great Sunday.